Okay, well, let's talk about the economy now. The unemployment rate to 5.2 yesterday, it was outside of market expectations. We know the underlying issues there, but it just does not marry with what is happening in reality. Hospitality retail workers simply cannot find staff.
Look, there certainly are skill shortages in different parts of the economy, and those pressures are there, and we're hearing that from many businesses. We know that across the states that haven't been in lockdown, they're in incredibly strong positions, most of them, and states like my own seeing some 30,000 jobs created during the course of this year. Other states in good positions. But the pain of lockdowns was evident in those figures yesterday. And even the contrast there, that as New South Wales was taking the tentative steps towards reopening and sending positive signals about what they were doing and leading in terms of vaccination numbers, there were 20,000 plus jobs created in New South Wales. Victoria, where there was still more uncertainty and where, of course, it's been a much longer period of pain, we saw the job numbers slide backwards a bit there. But with consumer confidence high, with business confidence high, there should be a lot of optimism and confidence that we'll see a rebound underpinned by the economic recovery plans we laid out in the budget this year.
Well, you're telling people how good it is or might be, but there's a risk that they're just not feeling it. When we talk about skills shortages, this was a problem that persisted well before COVID. Has the government dropped the ball on it?
No, certainly not. We've invested significantly through COVID in terms of driving up apprenticeship commencements and training numbers. We've invested significantly in terms of new funding and negotiations with the states and territories around reforming different parts of the skills agenda. And clearly we're committed now as we reopen the international borders to make sure that those migration settings are as targeted as possible to the skills needs of the country. So we want to make sure that Australians fill jobs wherever possible, that they're trained for them wherever possible, but we'll use those international levers where we can, and we stood up during the pandemic as well a global talent and investment attraction task force, which I know is making a real difference now in attracting more global businesses to look at setting up in Australia and of course getting the talent in place to support them where necessary too.
Well, international students, as you know, Simon Birmingham, are desperate for news. Can you give them any certainty this morning? When will they be allowed back, and what will be required of them?
I think particularly in New South Wales and Victoria, and hopefully in other states, international students should be very confident and should be planning for the first semester of next year. That things are going well as we're reopening the international borders to fully vaccinated Australians and to fully vaccinated permanent residents and others. And we'll want to move as quickly as we can. And the Prime Minister's indicated this week that he hopes to see movement towards the end of this year. And so international students, especially in those big states, should be looking towards the start of next semester, the commencement of next year. Obviously, they'll need to be fully vaccinated.
So not by the end of the year, because the Prime Minister said earlier this week that he expects international students to be back by the end of the year. Does that mean without quarantine?
I think if they are fully vaccinated and meet the same criteria as those Australian citizens who are moving at present now without quarantine in and out of New South Wales and Victoria, then there's no reason why we won't be able to extend that under similar terms to international students, to targeted skilled workers, and ultimately to tourists and other movers. We want to move through these stages of reopening the international borders as quickly as we can, knowing that international students are crucial not just to our universities and education providers in terms of the role they play there and the financial support they play there, but they're another important part of the labour market. They have work rights and they often supplement in a number of different jobs and industries, including those hospitality sectors you mentioned before.